Man, I swear to God, somebody's just going to get in an accident. All the times we've heard someone just go, Screedy! Yeah, without an accident. I'm surprised, shocked, frightened, scared, all at the same time.
I'm more shocked that you're still talking to yourself.
I can hear myself in stereo. Actually, no, I can't, because I can only hear out of my left ear.
It's mono.
Mono-y mono. You're actually surprised I'm still talking to myself? Have you met me before?
I have.
I'm sorry.
Welcome to the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast, presented by Cinema Summit, a podcast about the art of making films, no matter how small the budget. And now, here are your hosts, Alex Darke and Trevor L. Nelson.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is episode 41 of the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast. I'm Alex Darke.
And I am Trevor L. Nelson, and today we are going to be talking about how to get the most out of film school. But first, Alex, any surprise in what we're drinking today?
No. None whatsoever.
At all.
It's Miller.
If you're hoping.
Guys,
guess what?
It's Miller.
It's Miller time, baby. No surprises on my end. No surprises on Alex's end. We like our Miller, but we're at the ends of it, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want that, what do they say, corn syrup in it?
Maybe we'll go Modelo.
Oh, dude. I'd go with some Modelo.
With a little lime.
Do we have limes? They may be old and
They're probably
destroyed.
like rocks at this point.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll figure something else out.
They'll be good for my slingshot.
You know what? We have lime juice.
That's right.
Yes.
And that never goes bad.
Never. Never, because it's not real limes. It's not real.
It's actually just water and salt.
Yeah, and if science has taught me anything, water and salt never are bad.
No.
So, yeah.
Plus, if you crush up some sour
Go ahead. Yeah.
tart candies,
Okay, wow. That's where we're going. All right.
you get lime juice that never goes bad.
Okay.
It's like honey. It's like the honey of fruit.
It's like Huny.
It's like Huny.
All right, guys. So, what's new with us? Alex, what is new?
Let's see. Well, I rediscovered the 8 sequences method, idea,
Okay.
theory,
Okay.
proposal when it comes to screenwriting. I did so.
It was lost.
It was lost by me
To you.
in my foggy cobweb brain.
Foggy turtle. I get it.
It was rediscovered by me when I purchased a book in doing some research for our proposal called Sceneclopedia.
Sceneclopedia.
Horror edition.
Yeah.
Every scene of 25 horror feature films. And what the author does is break it down based on the 8 sequence method, as it were. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I've heard of this before. In fact, I learned about this in my screenwriting classes, and I have a book about it. And so I decided to adopt that for things going forward until I find something else that I like, only because for me it seems to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that after you reintroduced me to it as well, it helps really well. You really can just like lay it all out pretty easily, and I like it.
Yeah, I know it's it's somewhat symmetrical, which I think people dislike. It's not even somewhat; it's incredibly symmetrical.
I mean, it's sequential.
Yeah,
Sequences.
yeah. But in that, it's like, first act is 30 minutes, second act is 60 minutes, third act is 30 minutes, and it's broken up into halves. You basically like split everything in half over and over again, and then you get like the sequences.
Yeah.
And the scenes.
I think you split them some other in more than half, because 3 acts split into halves would be 6.
No, but if you have an act 2, part 1 and part 2.
Wah, wah, wah. Yep, that's it.
Then you split it.
That's the secret, guys. You have to have the that's it. You split act 2, because the midpoint of act 2 or the end of part 1 of Act 2 is basically your midpoint of
The midpoint of the
story, the climax, all that stuff. So
it's not the climax.
No, that's true. That's right. It's not the climax, but it's
the midpoint.
The midpoint of the story. So you can split Act 2 into 2 parts, and that's how you get your 4 sequences. So 8 sequences. You get Act 1, 2 sequences. Act 2, Part 1, 2 sequences. Act 2, Part 2, 2 sequences, and Act 3, 2 sequences.
Correct. So that's like the main 8 sequences, and then you continue to divide from there to get like your full outline.
Man, am I sleep deprived if I just said that the climax of the story happens in the middle of Act 2.
God.
I need to sleep. I need to sleep so bad.
So anyway, that's very interesting. I would recommend it, the book. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I thought...
funny, ha-ha funny?
No, it's just kind of odd. It's like an odd book. You wouldn't necessarily expect to exist, but because it's basically just outlines of movies.
Yeah.
Based on watching the movie. It's not even like based on the script. It's like based on the movie itself, how it turned out.
But we also had that with Save the Cat Goes to the Movies. And Save the Cat is kind of the method that we used before.
Yes, but that book is a lot more sort of like explanation of things. This is just like literally outlines.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I looked at the book briefly when Alex brought it in. It is basically outlines and just breaks it down. It doesn't
There's
say
like maybe 2 pages of some kind of explanations and stuff, but
it's pretty.
Which I like because like the Save the Cat Goes to the Movies. It's good, but it's not organized in such a way that well, first of all, the Save the Cat beat sheet it's not confusing. It's just like it's hard to remember off the top of your head.
Yes, it's complex, and maybe that's good because then you have a complex script. But to remember it off the top of your head, and to like, if you want to write a script or outline a script, on the fly, not easy to remember.
No, and I would have the beat sheet and then need to like look up what the sections are again because I'm like, oh yeah, what is the fun and games or whatever? What happens there? Because I never know.
And also because it's all named cleverly, it's like, wait a second, I don't remember how clever this one was. I kind of forget. So Alex has been discovering that. We're working on. That leads us to our next what's new. We're finishing up a proposal, and instead of trying to stretch our ideas to fit, instead of trying to hammer a square peg in a round hole with 2 of our movies, we have brought on our friends, and they have had some movies in the past that we've read and talked to them about, and they're going to come along board on this wonderful journey of ours.
Yes.
So we've got 3 ideas for us. We got an idea from one of our friends and an idea from another one of our friends, and we're kind of packaging it all together. So that's a new improved package. I need all the help I can with my package.
Yes.
But yes, so we this is where, as we're talking about film school today, these are 2 guys we became friends with in film school. I actually met Alex through both these guys.
That's correct.
And so they are coming on board. We are shelving 2 of our ideas because they're really not perfect for this, and we want this to be a perfect proposal so we can lead us to our next what's new. And what's that, Alex?
Getting ready to get money.
So much money. I have no idea if this is actually going to happen, but we have. Would you say that we're? I don't know. For me, this is the most confident I've felt in a package that we've sent out. Just not only from how we've put it together and how you've done a lot of the research. Alex has done a hell of a lot of research on this. I thank him for that. But also the people that we're going to send this to. We've met some new people. We've sent proposals in the past just randomly, but now we know some people that kind of could get behind this and really push forward with it.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I like it, so I've made a bunch of business plans before for like films and stuff.
He also made a business plan for Pet Potato, but it died after 2 months, and that didn't go very far.
Yeah.
But that was probably your strongest proposal.
Pet Potato was my pet potato project.
Look at you when I say that. Why did I come up with Pet Potato? Alex used to always just cut up and deep fry all the prototypes, so it never really went anywhere.
It was hard to come up with Pet Potato names for all of them. My favorite was Piggly Wiggly.
This has got to go in a script sometime. It's about somebody's failed. What was that movie, Envy, where Jack Black kept trying to invent things and get rich quick schemes, and then he came up with the thing that made poop disappear, dog poopers disappear?
Yeah.
I feel like that would be perfect.
I like that all of our ideas have to do with potatoes. Like, my idea is Sponge-tato, which is a sponge made out of potato that you can use to clean your grill, and then you eat it.
I mean, that's what they recommend you clean your grill with, so I don't know how groundbreaking that idea is, but actually, what you do is you just clean your grill, and if you forget it on there, 2 hours later, you have a perfectly grilled potato.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You clean it, and then you eat it.
I don't know if you can eat it right after cleaning it. It doesn't get hot enough or cooked enough.
You don't have your grills hot enough, turns out.
My package isn't big enough and my grill isn't hot enough. Story of my life. Finally, what's new? A shout out to Rachel Drummond. She sent us a very wonderful message the other day that she was, as a new filmmaker, she was appreciating the podcast. So now we have 3 people that like this podcast. My mom, Alex's mom, and Rachel Drummond. Rachel, thank you so much for the shout out. We appreciate those messages all the time. Makes us think that we're actually doing something with this rather than just sitting around drinking and laughing our asses off.
Yes, correct.
So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks.
And so on to the main topic. Now, we've talked about in the past, should you go to film school or should you not, right, Alex?
Yes, we have. I believe so. If memory serves me.
If the No Budget podcast tells me anything, right?
Yep, we did it.
Yep, we did it. So now, me and Alex are a little skewed in this, but we both went to film school. That's where we met.
Yeah,
we went to the best film school in the whole land.
So they say.
On
their brochure and all throughout the tour.
Yeah. Yep. And so, you've weighed the options of going to film school or not going to film school, and you've decided to go to film school. Turn back now. Don't do it. No. But so we want to talk to you about what kind of to get yourself in the mindset of what you're going to get out of it, what you should prepare for, what to expect, what not to expect, and then talk about what we would have done differently going to film school.
Yeah.
So starting off with how to prepare for film school. So, this could be your high school senior about to go into college as a freshman, or also a lot of people that I knew in film school, they did an undergrad somewhere in something completely different and then became a graduate student in the film school. And that was a little different. That was a little different than what we experienced. So, we don't want to say this is how it all is.
There's my experience, which is I was not in the film school for most of my college experience.
Me too. I would say that I was as well. I was planning on it, but I just, didn't get around to it. And then we'll talk about those distractions that made us so we didn't get around to it. But
yes. So preparing beforehand.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to I used to be a Boy Scout.
Did you really?
No, I only got to Cub Scouts. I was
Me too. I was gonna say, God, you're much more improved than I am because I only got Cub Scouts. Were you a Weebelo?
No, I don't even know what that is. Is that an animal?
That's the top of the Cub Scouts.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
That's a children's toy that doesn't fall over.
Man, we were coming up with so many good inventions here. No, it's a Weebelo. Weebelo is the top of the Cub Scouts.
Oh, I think I probably made it to Wolf, which is I think the second tier or something.
Excellent.
Or maybe Bear. I don't know. I don't know what they are.
Let's see. There's the Lion Badge, Bobcat, Tiger, Wolf, and Bear badges. Then the Weebelo Scouts.
Oh, yeah. I think I got to Wolf.
Yeah, I think I got to about. I don't know. I dropped off pretty quickly. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, I like to be prepared.
Okay.
For things.
Yeah.
So I think it could be good to do. When we started, there wasn't as much opportunity as there is now to sort of get a little ahead in certain things.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, it was basically like going to the library, watching, like, Movie Magic, the TV show, or, like, watching behind-the-scenes DVDs.
Yeah.
And reading, like, Movie Maker magazine or, like, other magazines and stuff, and trying to get as much info as I possibly could about filmmaking and what it's like and all that kind of stuff before I jumped in.
Yeah, and I would say that people who are like making the decision to go to film school probably already have that like passion for it.
Yeah.
For me, it was a little different. I probably talked about this before. My parents had an old handy cam. It was an RCA. It wasn't the one that used the full tapes, but it was like the bigger tape, the bigger small tape, I guess you could say. It wasn't like a mini DV or anything like that.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
like
remember
a high 8,
Yeah, but it was like thicker than that. It was, I don't know, it was a weird, yeah.
like a beta.
Yeah, something like that. But it was like a high 8 size, but a thicker size. Maybe it was just specific to RCAs. But I remember using that when I was in middle school. I did a claymation video. And then from then on, I just was kind of always doing videos for my projects in school. And then my aunt she won a drawing that she got a handy cam that had Firewire, so you could control from your computer.
Yeah.
And I remember one Christmas, my parents bought me and my brother each a computer, and I had the option to upgrade the graphics card to one of those ATI All-in-Wonders. Oh. Because I remember sitting in middle school and somebody did a video on Avid, and I was like, what is Avid? And it had titles and all this. I was like, what the hell is all this? How do you do this? And so that just kind of sparked my interest. And I got the All-in-Wonder, so I was able to plug in RCA and Firewire, and that was off to the races. So I was doing videos. I did had a class called Theory of Knowledge, and we did a report on do video games cause violence. So I reenacted Grand Theft Auto. I mean, I was shooting stuff all the time. I shot music videos for my friends. So that was kind of my intro to film school. It was like, oh, I can do this for a career. I love doing this. I'll spend my weekends and free time doing this.
Yeah. And I think.
Go ahead.
I think, jumping off of that, some people might think it would be strange or unnecessary to take, let's say, an editing course or a cinematography course online before you're going to film school. But I actually think if you know you're interested in one of those areas, it's probably a good idea to do something like that. Only because once you're there, you have all these resources, you have these professors, and if you go in knowing a little bit already, you'll get way more out of it in the end. Yeah. Versus starting from scratch and not kind of hitting walls and not really knowing what questions to ask or how to move forward. Yeah. So I think for me, I would have, if I had the option, which I didn't, but if I had the option, I would have probably done something like that. Yeah, I remember, this is super random. I remember when I was back, I think for a summer in college, there was this kid who lived in my neighborhood, and we had this event at a park that my parents were throwing, and he was an actor. And he actually, who's the kid from Hunger Games? Josh Groban. God, we're on fire tonight. Josh Hutcherson. Yeah. So he was actually in a lot of auditions with Josh Hutcherson and Hutchinson and or Hutcherson. I don't know. JH. Hutcherson. Yeah, that's what it is. And he was actually in a bunch of movies. He actually had a star role in this really weird movie about this kid who gets caught into a fantastical circus or something like that. He was a star of it and all that, and he was second to Josh Hutcherson for Hunger Games and stuff like that. So he was, well on his career as an actor than I was as a filmmaker. But him and his mom had talked to me because they talked to my parents about. He wanted to take this premium course at UCLA for screenwriting. And I was like, I remember telling him, I was like, hey, I wouldn't necessarily pay that much for a screenwriting course because you're going to get the same as you would out of any other course unless you're there in person. Talking with the professor and really in depth and all that stuff. So don't think you have to take a premium course or an expensive course for screenwriting. Just to, get your feet wet. Not necessary at all. Right. But learn as much as you can any way you can. Yes. And then also, along with that and along with what you were saying, I think practicing, but doing so in such a way that is more than just running around with your friends doing the same things that you always do. because again, like when I was a kid or like younger in middle school and high school, I would make videos and stuff, but I wasn't thinking of it from the perspective of like, I'm going to make a film necessarily. We were like making class projects. We were just shooting funny things. But I didn't necessarily have the foresight to say, you know what, I want to see how I can make these better by doing these like techniques and like practicing them, or like I didn't think about like camera movements or like composition and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely didn't think about any of that when I was shooting my stuff. I was just like, I was thinking a little bit about editing. Maybe that's why I got into editing.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about like how things could edit together and stuff like that. But I definitely wasn't thinking of like composition or anything like that.
Yeah, so I think if you do a little bit of practice, a little bit more mindful practice, to sort of propel your skills forward, that would be something that you could do to prepare. Because once you get into film school, you're going to be asked to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it can be pretty rough if you have to do like a project every week or something, and you are not used to that kind of stuff, and then you're getting critiqued by people, and so then you feel all self-conscious because, you know, I don't know. It's just one of those things. So I definitely think you should go about it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And then also think about what you have to say that's unique. I mean, I know that when I was, you know, for USC at least, applying for film school, you had to write an essay and all that and create a character and all that. And I created the most generic, like, stupid character that I ever have because I didn't have my voice. I was like, you know, I'm going to be unique and like, oh, there's this, I don't even remember what it was just really like cheesy as shit and not unique at all. And I thought I was being so clever. And that's because I still think I'm unique and clever when I'm obviously not. But that was just me like thinking, not really having my voice or not knowing what I wanted to say in terms of, a character or a film or even a short.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that can be something that you obviously will continue to find and grow as you're going through college and then even after. But it's definitely something to think about before you even get there. Like, what types of films do you want to make? Like, what styles do you like? Like, what are your favorite movies and why? And how have those influenced you, and what can you pull from them to create your own style?
Yeah. The more you can get into, you can be ready into film school and like be ahead of the curve, and just know what kind of films you want to make, have made a couple things, or at least research a couple things, or written some things. The better. It can't hurt. You may come off as like some like know-it-all asshole, but in the long run, it's just going to help you.
Yeah. Here's a question I never thought about until just now.
Okay. Wow.
Before you got into film school, had you ever written a script in that proper script format?
My cousin who lives out here now, Ben, you know him.
Yes, I do.
I think I was in high school, and I had started making films with him, and he wrote a script. And he sent it to me, and I read it. And this is why I was still in high school. I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And then I had talked to my friends who I always shot my films with, and my videos with, and we had talked about like making, like writing a script or ideas we had for stuff. And so I had started writing a script. I don't even remember. I forget what it even was about. Because it wasn't perfect format. Like, it was like double parentheses for actions. It was not great. But I started writing one. Just being like, yeah, this would be cool. This would be fun.
Yeah.
Because I had done creative writing all throughout middle school and high school. Nerd alert.
Let me guess, you were on the debate team too.
Captain of the fourth place team. No, but I had done creative writing, and I always, because I liked filming, I was like, I'll take a stab at writing a script. How about you?
No, I never did.
Okay.
I wrote things. Yeah. For the videos that I did.
Dear Diary.
Yeah, I wrote a lot of Dear Diary entries.
Gotcha.
That I then dissolved with my own tears. But I never wrote like an actual. I don't think I even like looked up or had even read a script prior to being in film school, which is hilarious.
I don't know if I had read one except for my cousins, which is probably a bad idea before I start writing one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had read, because I did acting, so I'd read plays.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But I don't think I was aware of like the screenwriting format and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just thought about that. It was very interesting.
Like there's free software out there that you guys could do to start, and it will automatically format for you.
Yeah.
And, read scripts. There's another thing to prepare. We didn't even mention that. Read scripts. There's script sites all over the place that you can just go and download scripts and read them of your favorite movies and kind of, get an idea of how they kind of put the script into screen. And when I was younger, I wanted to start this, and then as I got older, I wanted to do that too. I wanted to take a movie that I hadn't seen yet and taking the screenplay and read the screenplay and then put my director notes down, like how I would direct the scene and compose the shots and edit it together and all that. And then do that for the whole movie and then go watch the movie for the first time and kind of compare my notes to what they actually did.
Yeah.
And that I always thought was a great way to see, like, not to saying that your way is wrong that you wrote down, but just to see, like, people who are professional, how they went about doing it. Just to give you a better idea.
Yeah. I think my notes probably would have said at the top of the page, press record, and then there would have been a big line that said edit good. And then at the end, it would have said stop recording.
Stop recording. Printed to tape. Yeah, nice.
All right. So then what should one expect once they're actually in film school?
What they should expect is that they're not going to be shooting all the time. Everyone thinks that when they go to film school, it's shoot. Now you'll work on people's projects. There'll be projects outside of your classes that you can work on. Side projects. I shot more with Burncrantz 616 and with projects outside of my classes than I did in my classes. I took an editing class. I took a screenwriting class. Everyone thinks that when they go to film school, they're going to get access to these great cameras and going to be able to go shoot whatever they want. No, at least at USC, it's much more structured than that because they want you to be an overall well-rounded filmmaker.
Yeah, and it's not like you have free reign over the stuff or even like the places. I mean, we kind of did our own thing because we had friends and that had cameras and I had a camera, but like, and then we wouldn't necessarily get permits. I mean, you know what I mean? To, like, do stuff, and we would just kind of like run around and shoot stuff. But when it comes to like what's actually required of you at school, it is very structured. You have to like check out equipment. You have to get permits. You have to get insurance if you're going to do stuff like some of the bigger projects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think I did more shoots as well outside of my actual classes, and I think that's something to be prepared for, is trying to be proactive about getting on shoots, because I mean, when you're on the shoots, I feel like you learn more than you do in the classroom, just because it's more practical. You can read the theory in the books and stuff, but then once you get there and you see like, oh yeah, this problem arose. Oh yeah, it arose again. I suppose that's something that I should take care of earlier, or like, stuff like that comes up and it just becomes more practical. Yeah,
and also like it's when you do get a camera in your hand, it's very structured, at least at USC. They don't want you to jump right in. They want you to learn the slow way. And so I feel that on other shoots, it was like, okay, well, I'll learn the slow way in class, but here I'm going to experiment a little more. Like for me, my biggest production class and Alex's biggest production class, the first thing we had to shoot was in-camera edit, which means everything had to be sequential. You couldn't edit outside of the camera. So it's like, do this, rehearse this whole thing, do the first take, stop the camera, move the camera, next action. It wasn't like out of sequence. Annoying, yes, but I totally get why they did it. And I did that in class, and then I went out and shot, a 30-minute episodic television show. And it was like, this is all over the place because this is our location. We have to shoot 3 scenes here that are all different times in the script. So there's positive and negatives of both.
Yeah. And I think another thing to expect that I guess I don't know what I really thought going into it, but you're not learning things in sort of like a way, an order that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're taking a cinematography class, and then you're taking like a screenwriting class, and then like 2 semesters later you're taking like an editing class, and then like the second cinematography class. It's like it's not in any order that makes sense. It's just all over the place, and so you have to kind of like combine everything to make like linear sense in your brain in terms of like, oh yeah, I do this, and then it works this way, and then I work with this. So,
especially because it's not like you're given just a list of classes you have to take, not in what order you have to take them.
Right.
So my first class was a cinematography class.
Yeah.
And
I feel like I wasted my cinematography class completely.
Really?
Because it was one of my first classes too, and I knew so little about it.
Yeah.
That and none of it made sense to me, or like I didn't understand why we were learning certain things, and it also, I guess, didn't help that we were at the time shooting on film, and so it was like I couldn't necessarily see the effects of what I was doing immediately, so I didn't know. I was just kind of guessing.
Yeah. I would give you that. I did appreciate. Who'd you have?
Chris Coman.
Okay, I had Robert Ballo. I did appreciate he's what I appreciate with Robert Ballo is that we shot on film, and we always shot. Every class we were shooting something, testing footage and all that. But our assignments away were not just like, okay, look at this or watch this. It was like go out with a camera and do some compositions. It was like side by side. He's like, I want
a still camera.
Yeah. I was like, I want all.
Where'd you get the still camera?
I mean, it was a digital camera. I mean, it was just I had one. He said you could rent them. You could rent them if you wanted, or borrow friends. He said, but it was like give me a shot with everything in the same size, and then give me a shot of contrasting size within the same shot and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, I could see this composition because you had to go find this out on campus. It was like I want all the same color. I want contrasting colors, and you'd have to go find a tree that was had orange leaves on it with green grass and stuff like that. And so I really appreciated that because it comes down to it's like when you get a film camera, it's no different than a still camera if you're trying to build a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also found that even after I took the cinematography class, I still leaned more towards using just like available light.
Yeah.
And making it look as good as I could.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing, but what I found frustrating was when I did add light, it seemed terrible. It was like overlit, It was like I didn't know how to use it properly at the time, so it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that too. When I was directing a part, it was like my motivations for the light were off.
Yeah.
So it was like I did a shot of a guy outside looking through a window inside, and then I did the close up, and the lighting was changed because I wanted to get the detail on the like the face or something like that.
Right.
And he's like, "Wait a second, why'd the light just all of a sudden change between these two shots?" I was like, "Oh, son of a bitch! Oh yeah, I'm pretty bad at that."
Whoops.
Yep.
Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah. So yeah, and also realize you're if you go to a university that is a 4-year university, you're gonna have to take non-film classes.
Yeah, and you're gonna have a lot of homework.
Yeah,
you're gonna have a lot of studying.
Yeah, I took Renaissance art. I took psychology. I took guitar. I took it's like those are just the things you have to take.
Yeah, I think we had. Did you have to take a language?
Yep, I took French.
Ooh, oui, oui. I took Spanish. But yeah, I had to take. It was one of those challenges. I always tried to find like the thing that was most like related. Like one of the things was like Japanese film and fiction.
Yep, I took
or like musical like Broadway musicals and film musicals? And
I
stuff?
try to keep as close to the. I mean, I took psychology because I've always been interested in psychology. I've always told my wife that if I wasn't in film, I'd either be a psychologist, which could maybe help me understand my own self.
Yeah. Yes.
Or like a carpenter or something, or like a chef or something like that. But I have always been in like.
What if you were a food psychologist?
Whoa! Get in the mind of the
chili
of the
pepper.
pita. I'm glad we can amuse ourselves. But I like psychology, so I took that. But I also figured that if I took psychology, it would help me break down characters more and build characters better in my films.
Yeah.
But it was always one of those things where it was always in the back of my mind. I was like, how can this help me with film?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's some classes where it's just unavoidable, where, you know, like I ended up taking earthquakes or oceanography or like arts of Asia from antiquity to 1300.
Yeah, I took Japanese history and stuff like that because I took Japanese in high school. So, I mean, yeah,
But
I get it.
think and you do end up, I mean, as one would at a university, you end up spending a lot of time at the library.
Yep.
Study groups, prepping for your tests and stuff
Yep.
because, you know, half your grade is like one test.
Yep.
Or
And-
something. So,
Yeah.
whew.
Yeah, it's a
Yikers.
it's a doozy.
And so there's a lot of distractions, I would say, when you're
Well, I mean, okay, we're talking about studying and non-film classes, but
I'm talking about that being a distraction.
Yeah, but-
it's also there's other distractions.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, let's not just say that, like classes work and being a good student is a distraction. There is a lot of drinking,
There is, yeah.
and just parties in
I
general.
didn't actually really
shenanigans.
partake in the drinking so much when I was there.
Yeah, for my mother, I didn't either. But I mean, you were involved in improv.
Yep, I did improv. I was in said TV show that we
Yep.
both were working on.
Yep, and I did intramural sports. It's funny because I lived my whole college career. I lived with people who weren't film guys, so it was like it's easier when you're surrounded by people who are film to be doing film and talking film all the time. But
Yeah.
I lived with people that were like, we had Madden tournaments and we played pickup basketball and all that. And it's just you're finally away from your parents maybe for the first time, and so life just becomes a distraction. Like for me, I had never been to Los Angeles aside from when I was a little kid going to Disneyland until the day I came for orientation. So it was like, to me, it was like, oh, Los Angeles, let's do this. And so it was more of just distractions of not only the drinking and the partying and the hanging out with friends, but just life in general. Like, yeah. Film is awesome, and I knew I wanted to do that for the rest of my life, but at the same time, I was young and in a new city, and I just wanted to explore.
Plus, because of all said distractions, including the studious ones, one should expect to have a strange sleep schedule and perhaps not get enough sleep all the time.
Man.
And that translates as well when you're doing a lot of projects. I mean,
Yeah.
you end up staying up late. Did you work for Trojan Vision? Like at the
I worked for
studio?
a little bit, yeah. I was cameraman for a couple shows
Nice.
and all that. Did you?
Yeah, I produced. I was an associate producer of the talk show,
Oh, okay.
and
I think
then
that's still going on, actually.
and then I produced some other shows. One was like a stand-up comedy show.
Oh, nice. For those who don't know, USC has its own TV station, local TV station called Trojan Vision TV. Haha, nailed it. And students can work on it. Students you do work on it. The Trojan Vision is run by adults, but most of the programming and all that is run by students.
Yeah.
Starring students, shot by students, produced by students. The TV show that we worked on that Alex was a star of was the first scripted show on Trojan Vision.
Yes, it was.
And so we did that as well. So yeah, Trojan Vision was a great opportunity. I did a couple stuff on that, a couple things on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I wasn't in the film school yet. One of the guys who came on the talk show to be interviewed was the director of Final Destination and Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, nice.
And I just went up to him and asked him to write my letter of recommendation for the film school. And he was like, sure.
Nice. Nailed it. And look where we are now.
Look where we are now. Still asking people to do stuff for us for no reason.
I know. So, yeah, I mean, I would say that's what you expect. You got life, you've got classes, you've got non-film classes, and you've got film classes that aren't necessarily shooting all the time. It's theory. It's script writing. It's
watching a lot of movies.
A lot of movies.
Which is great. I mean, I love that part of it because you learn a lot. And I think if you skip the theory part, you're doing yourself like a huge disservice.
Yeah. I it's funny because a lot of people will say, "Oh, what were you? Were you screenwriting? Were you production? Were you critical studies?" Both Alex and I were critical studies, and because of how much I worked on stuff outside of class, I don't feel I missed out on anything being critical studies. I actually feel I got a better idea of the theory of film and like why things are done the way they are, why the stories progress the way they progress, and I actually appreciate it.
Yeah, and some would say that we actually had more opportunities to do better stuff.
Yeah,
because we didn't have all the requirements of the other
strict rigors of being a production student.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what
should people expect to get out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, one is we've talked about this before when we said the pros and cons of going to film school. For me, the biggest thing is networking. We work with and talk with a lot of the people we went to film school with.
Yeah.
It's without a doubt, every other day I'll be like, Alex will be like, "Hey, do you remember this guy from film school? You just reached out to me." Or I'll say, "Hey, Alex, you remember this person from film school? I hit him up on LinkedIn or Facebook to talk about this project because they're working at this and they're working with this person." And it's a big community, but it's a small community. The film world. And so the amount of people you can meet early on and keep in touch with them, the better.
Yeah, and even people that you didn't know.
Yeah.
That are alumni of the same school. Mm-hmm. You end up having like a common connection, and you can sort of like chat about things because, like for example, we had some young whippersnappers come into our studio to rent some equipment from us for a class project, and they both are at USC right now. And we, had fun kind of like talking about the classes they're taking. And because it's the same stuff. I mean, they're still doing the same type of stuff that we were doing.
Just in a better building with better equipment.
Better building with better equipment. Those bastards. So, and there's just like a common connection, an immediate like conversation point.
Yep.
That can help you. And I mean, I utilized that while I was at USC. Got my first job just because I was at USC and contacted a guy that was a speaker in one of our classes, and I ended up getting on a Nickelodeon show as a behind-the-scenes camera operator.
That you were quickly shut down on.
That I quickly got fired from because I wasn't union. But it was fun nonetheless.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but then I think along with networking, experimentation.
Like pillow fights in the sorority house.
Yeah. That is what you should definitely want to get out of. No.
Yeah, that's another distraction.
The experimentation aspect is like at that point in your life, you're not expected. There's not a whole lot that's expected from you.
No, not at all. And if you're at the point in my Alex's life, stuff still isn't expected from you.
No, it's expected from us, but we just don't do it.
There you go. We don't deliver.
But I think you have this huge opportunity that a lot of people kind of squander, which is you have access to stuff, you have a reason to be making things, but you end up being afraid of sort of stepping out of the box because you don't want to. You want to like fit within the lines of whatever the teacher has set for you, or you don't want to like seem like a crazy person to your peers or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the time to do it, and get that stuff out of your system and like figure out what you like and what you don't like and sort of like do the weird things that you want to do that you won't really be able to do outside of film school, because then it's going to be really hard to like rally people around your weird shit.
It's actually funny that you say it's going to be really hard to do, because this brought up a really good point and made me remember something. So one of our story ideas for our proposal that we're putting out, remember I was talking to you about, it's a good idea, but let's make it a little bit better and mess with people's minds by messing with time.
Yeah.
So in one of my projects, because it was like, nothing's expected of you, and you can experiment a little bit, I messed with time. I messed with like actions happening in non-sequential order and things, moving around differently. And guess what? This isn't, nothing's going to expect it. And I remember being like, I'm just going to try this, be a cool way to tell the story. And I remember when I had this like moment where this, long story short, my female character like tripped back and cracked her head open. And I remember like the reveal of that, because the time had been moving around and all that, and the sound effect, everyone like in my class who were watching was just like, and I was like, ooh, yeah, nailed it.
Nice.
So yeah, Alex says you can experiment with things that you can't do later in life, but at the same time, if you could experiment with things and realize, you know what, I really like doing this. I really can, garner a different reaction than I would have. You can bring that into your stories and your filmmaking later in life and later in your career.
Yeah, and I guess what I was trying to get at is you shouldn't be afraid to fail.
Exactly.
Because it's inevitable that your early stuff is going to be garbage.
Yeah.
Compared to what you do later.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. And then, like most of my stuff, at the time, the students and the teachers were like, "Oh, this looks really good."
Yeah.
But my stories made no goddamn sense.
Well, the one I was in made sense. I know what story it came out of.
Right. If you knew what story it was supposed to be,
true.
it made sense. But if you did not, you were like, "What is happening?
Why is this homeless guy chasing an apple down the hallway?"
So dark.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But explain to me your in-camera edit where you had me opening the plastic on a CD case only to reveal that there was no plastic on it, and yet I did not know.
Yeah.
And at some point spit out fake plastic.
Right.
What was the thought behind that?
That was a deep telling of.
Keep going.
That was a deep
commercial for Pet Potato early on.
Yeah, it was a commentary on adolescent disappointment.
Ah, okay.
And boundaries.
I couldn't get my Puff Daddy CD open. Damn.
Yep.
But yeah, I totally agree with you. It's you can't fail. Well, you can fail in school, but you can't fail turning something in that you took a risk on. They actually applaud it.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to realize that these professors. Now, I will say that one of the advantages, or just one of the joys of going to USC, is the professors that you're surrounded with. So my professor for one of my film classes was William Fraker, who was the DP of Rosemary's Baby, Bullet. Just tons. Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Just tons of movies. And big name movies. And, they had, when he passed away, unfortunately, they had a huge memorial for him. I mean, he was a legend, and I was lucky enough to learn under him. They see 20, 30 student film shorts a year. And so they actually are probably welcoming a little different take on things. Not the same old,
I'm sure they're just like
shot, reverse shot.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They want that.
They want
that,
something
a little
unique,
a little something.
Totally.
Yep.
I'd also say that I had no thought process about this as I was making things, but like putting together a reel.
Yeah.
Having something at the end of my time at USC that I could be like, look, this is what I did, and try to get to the next step. I really put no thought into that. Mm-hmm. Because I did a mix of so many things, it was really hard to put a reel together, because it's like, oh, I produced this thing, but as for directing, I have these two things.
Yeah.
So I had like a ton of different stuff that was all disconnected and not, of the same skill set. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't have what I would have called like a reel that I was happy with to show people when it came to directing, especially.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, especially coming out of school, though, a reel is a reel. Like, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But it definitely is not connected.
No, but if you're thinking about it and it's like, oh, what, and it goes back to the beginning, like thinking about your voice and what you have to say.
Yeah.
If you have planned ahead that far,
Yeah.
and then you can sort of like create some kind of consistency with that so that your reel seems complete by the end of it. And it's like, oh yeah, this is like a body of work that makes sense together.
Yeah. And that just helps sell you when you're out of school.
Yeah.
Or even when you're in school and trying to get that job right out of school. And also, you know, we talk about like, oh, well, you have to be in certain classes to get access to equipment at USC, but you still get that access to the equipment when you're in class. And also, I was able to get access to powerful editing computers when I wasn't in class.
Yeah.
Just because they kind of go in there, you know, it's a student looking over the computers, and you just go in there, say you're taking a class, and you sit down and you have a computer that is up to industry standards, and you can edit whatever you want. So I would edit things on my own.
Yeah.
They're not looking over your shoulder and wondering what you're doing. They're just trying to make a buck as a student. So I would edit on Avid, which is at the time, you know, it's still kind of considered the standard. It was the industry standard editing software, and I would edit on that whenever I wanted to. I could go in at 2 a.m. and edit, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's other avenues too. It's like, I'm sure they frown upon this, but like, oh, you have a buddy who's in a class making a film, and then it's like you kind of team up with them and have him sort of produce a project that you want to do, and then you know, take that equipment and make your own thing.
I think they frown upon. I think it's an unwritten rule that they know everyone does it. I mean, why would they squander it that much?
Yeah.
I think they just need to meet, because what happens is you sign up for like an insurance thing when you get the class. It's cheap, but it covers the camera, so they just don't want people not in class using it who don't have the insurance.
Right.
So that's why you get your buddy to produce it, and he has the insurance.
Right.
And it's, I mean, they totally know.
I like how we and other people talk about the access to film equipment at a film school. When really it's like, for the majority of things, we're talking like a digital camera that's, you know, pretty inexpensive, and a light kit.
Yeah.
And like that's
I mean, it's not like we had access to a jib and a dolly. And I remember when I
think we could have probably somehow, some way, but
I don't know.
Not for the stuff that we were really doing.
I remember using a wheelchair as a dolly and having someone push me around with a camera rested on my big fat gut because it would stabilize it.
Yeah. I just used like the tripod dolly for one shot and just pushed the tripod across like the floor.
Yeah. And so
using the old towel method, the towel slider.
Shit, yeah, that can bring me back. So yeah, I mean, you know, even when we went to USC, which is expensive and all that, we didn't have, you know, Reds or Alexas that we were shooting on, and we didn't have, you know, a giant, you know, sky panel kit that we could use. I don't think they even today have access to that kind of stuff. I think the guys that stopped by to check out our equipment said they're shooting on FS7s, which are great cameras.
Yeah.
4K.
And they're renting lights from us instead of using the stuff at the school.
Exactly. So you do get access to the equipment, but don't think that it's going to be high-end equipment, because they're pretty sure that students are going to break it. So they don't want to invest a ton of money into it.
Yep.
So finally, what would you have done differently, Alex, if you were to start film school now knowing all you know?
Man, if I would just do more than I did.
Yeah.
Just because, well, like in every aspect of that, I would read more scripts. I would write more scripts.
Yep.
I would shoot more stuff.
Yeah.
I would direct more stuff. I feel like the one thing that I did a lot of, that I did plenty of, was producing, which I think is good.
Yeah.
It's good to have that skill and like understand how the entire film like kind of comes together. Mm-hmm. But I think I would have done more of sort of like the creative aspects, because that's more in line with what I realize now that I want to do. At the time, I was like, oh, I'll be a producer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check me out. Actor, producer. Yeah, I completely agree with all that. More. One thing that I would have done differently, and I think you took advantage of this, is I didn't do an internship when I was at USC. I had
Garbage,
to work.
don't need it.
I know, but I still would have liked to have been working in somewhat in the industry while I was still in school. I was working, I think, 20 to 30 hours a week at a work study job, and all that stuff. And I wish I would have taken more time to, you did coverage for what, Lionsgate or Dimension?
The Weinstein Company.
Miramax.
Dimension, the Weinstein Company.
Yeah. Sucky and all that, but still, I probably would have liked to do that just to kind of get an idea of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I probably would agree with that. I didn't like my internship, but I'm sure there are plenty of other good internships out there.
Yeah, and you never know if those internships could lead to a full-time job if you find the right one. And I just never looked for one because I didn't have a car. I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I wish I would have.
I also wish, and this is one of those things that seems a little hokey maybe, but it's surprising how often, like if you talk to old-timers in the industry or even, just like people that are older than you, a lot of times you'll find that they had mentors,
Yeah.
that sort of helped them and guided them through the industry. I wish I would have found someone to be a mentor and sort of utilize that possibility to help me along the way.
Here's my biggest freaking regret of film school. I always wondered what my biggest regret was, and here I think now that you mentioned having a mentor, I think my biggest regret, and I think I screwed up pretty handily doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree.
Was partnering with you. No, big time. One is I didn't search out my mentors. I had a really good relationship with William Fraker, the DP I talked about earlier, and he was a friendly guy, and he was a very warm and welcoming guy, and would always I remember sitting with him after class because I used to love watching Turner Classic Movies and American Cinema, the AMC, American Movie Channel. And he was shocked by that somebody my age or like our generation would watch the old movies because he said, you got to watch the old ones. And so I would talk to him for hours about old movies. And I never, after school, kept that relationship going.
Yeah.
And that also being said, one of my screenwriting professors was Mardik Martin. For those who don't know who Mardik Martin is, he is best friends with Martin Scorsese. He wrote Raging Bull. He wrote New York, New York, as well as a ton of other movies. So I had him for my final screenwriting class, and in that class we had to write the first act of a movie. He told me at our final meeting that I was the only one in class getting an A because I was the only one who improved upon the script every time he gave notes. And he told me, he's like, I really hope you keep up with this and let me know how this script goes. And I never did. And I was like, here's Mardik Martin, a legend,
yeah,
who wants me to continue writing this script. And I never did because I just was like, okay, I'm done. I got to look for a job now and blah, blah, blah. And I just forgot about it. And I wish I would have kept up with those two guys because not only would they have just been awesome to keep in touch with, but I feel they would have made me a better filmmaker and a screenwriter.
Yeah, and I think as a student, you often sort of like disconnect yourself from the professors a lot because you think it's like, well, they're like up there, you're down below, like watching, and there's like a ton of you. Mm-hmm. So like, why would they be interested in like talking to you?
Yeah.
But I think that's just not true.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to see, and if they ignore you, then they ignore you, and it was true that they just are too busy or don't care. Peter Berg would have been another one to keep in touch with. That guy.
Peter Exline.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Peter Exline. Peter Berg is the director who I have no connection to. Peter Exline was an amazing professor. I love that guy.
Yeah, he was the person the dude from
The Big Lebowski?
The Big Lebowski was based on.
I think it was his friend, but he had some stories that it was. Was it?
It was him, 100%.
Oh man,
He's the dude.
he's the dude. I know that he had a bunch of stories that made it into the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
The rug tying it all together was one of his stories.
And the homework in the car.
Yes. Peter Exline. Oh, man. Okay, so that's going to do it about film school. You know what? I would recommend it. It's not for everyone. I totally get why people don't do it. You don't necessarily need it. But it does make you focus on film for 4 years.
Yeah.
And get you surrounded by people who are focusing on it as well.
Exactly.
So what's cool, Alex? What's cool? Let's get to all speaking of the industry now, let's get about cool stuff.
Cool stuff. All right.
Cool.
Let's see. I found the Xylite F8 200.
Tell me more.
So Xylite is a company that makes LED lights.
Okay.
Which, as you all know, I'm a big fan of.
Alex loves his LEDs.
So the F8 line, they already have an F8 out there.
Okay.
I believe that stands for an 8-inch Fresnel.
Okay.
And the new one is 200 watts. It's a 200 watt. CRI of 93.
Okay.
Dimmable, the whole deal. It's got like a real Fresnel lens in front of it, which is
nice.
Instead of like the strange, dealium.
Mm-hmm.
It's got an output that's like similar to like a 2K.
Okay.
Which is not bad.
Not bad at all.
And they have the bicolor, and then they have other, like, 3200 Kelvin versions as well. And it's like $2,500. My thing about all this stuff.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
It's like everyone I feel like is making their version of the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cheaper.
Like Xylite's a good brand.
Yeah.
I like some of their stuff. They haven't necessarily like broken through, I don't think, to be like a staple of anyone's,
Kit.
Yeah. But maybe overseas they are. I don't know. But my thing is like there's so many like 200 watt Fresnels, and I believe there's probably several that have like the higher CRI than 93.
Yeah.
Or have higher output and stuff like that. So it's like why
waste? Why not try and do something?
Why not do something different? But hey, whatevs. I mean,
no, I get it. Like why go into not just a field, but a product that there's so many out there instead of trying to do something new that will set you apart from everything else.
Yeah.
Maybe they just think they can do it better and cheaper, but I don't know.
$2,500 I don't think is cheaper.
No, but I know, and so then the question becomes why? Because I mean, you'd think a lot of companies would do it because they think they can make it cheaper and just as good. But if this is not cheaper, like $2,500 isn't.
Yeah, the one thing.
They all have one thing that's like this is one thing that sets it apart. But is it worth it?
The one thing that it has that I don't, I don't think anyone else does is the form factor. It's like really thin.
Yeah.
It's weirdly thin for a Fresnel.
Yeah.
So it's just small for like a 2K output. So, in that way it's good. It's space saver. If you have to get up right up against the wall or something, you don't have this big honking Fresnel, because a lot of the 200 watt Fresnels are large.
Yeah.
So that's it. And that's good.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if I would necessarily like jump at it right away. Yeah,
I'd give it some consideration. I mean, it looks good, but there's just so many out there. It's like it's almost like you just got to find the right family of lights that you like, and then just buy all that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's up to the user, individual basis. I got The Devil in the White City. This is a book that was about H.H. Holmes, who's, I would say, one of America's first serial killers. He was killing in Chicago when the World's Fair was coming there and the Ferris wheel was being invented. The book is fantastic. Dude was twisted.
He did all sorts of weird stuff.
He had, it was like a Jack the Ripper meets Sweeney Todd. He had like trap doors where he'd put bodies down, usually get people that nobody would know were missing and kill them. He was a physician and a pharmacist. He was just a twisted man, and he was using the upcoming World's Fair where there'd be so many people to just
hide the fact that people are missing
and just kill at whim. And originally it was going to be a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Fantastic casting after what he did in Inglourious Bastards, and directed by Martin Scorsese. Big fan, love the pairing. We'll see anything that guy makes with him in it.
Was Leonardo DiCaprio in Inglourious Bastards?
No, did I say Inglourious Bastards? Sorry, Django Unchained.
Oh,
Django. He plays as the Candyman. He's fantastic. So I think he played an amazing villain. Jesus, Inglourious Bastards. Sorry, guys. It's late and I'm tired. But now it's going to be a Hulu series.
Yeah.
And they're both going to still be involved. But here's the deal. Something that have you read the book?
No. I've seen a documentary about it.
If you want to borrow it, I'll let you have it. It is a complex book. And it's one of those things where sometimes these books just like trying to cram that all into a movie just seems so stupid because it's so rich that it needs like 4 to 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Because you can do wonders with it. So I'm excited about this. I
feel like Hulu's stepping up their game.
Hulu is stepping up their game.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. I got the Ushio.
Nice.
Color Max LEDs.
You are on a lighting kick.
Yeah. I just play the cards that are dealt. These are interesting. They are tubes for divas.
Okay.
So they're kind of like your twin tube fluorescent style light bulb, but they're LED instead of fluorescent. So they're brighter, much brighter. I think maybe 3 times almost brighter. More color accurate, because if any of you have used Kinos, particularly divas or like barflies and stuff, the tubes aren't as color accurate as one might think.
Yeah, you're expecting a CRI of at least 92 in anything that comes out these days.
Yeah, but I think what happens is, if not immediately, over time, Kino tubes tend to sort of degrade and lose their color.
Yeah.
So you have to constantly switch out the bulbs or the tubes.
I know that they say that Kino Flow usually is like 90 to 88 CRI or something like that with the tubes. Yeah.
So these are just, you don't have to do anything to the fixture itself. You just pop it in, the new tubes, and they're like $30 a piece. So.
And how is it all app-based to change the colors on them?
It's not color changing.
Oh.
I know the
I was going to say, like, I'm looking at it right now. It's like Color Max.
Color Max. It's deceiving.
Yeah.
But no, you just buy the tube that is like either 3200 or 5600.
Gotcha.
They dim. They do the whole shebang. But
which is great if you like your Diva fixture and you just want to get rid of that freaking green Kino Diva hue.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Color Max threw me off. I was thinking, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think if I had some Divas, I'd probably jump on that.
Yeah, because, 4 tubes in a Diva?
Yeah, or 2, depending on what Diva you have.
Big Diva, 4. So 30, you're looking at like $120 to upgrade your Diva and make them brand new again.
Yeah.
I like it. Nice.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take it. I have the Steady Cross magnetic camera stabilizer. So everyone these days is talking about, gimbals with motors on it and got your battery pack for it and all this. This one is a electric and battery-less
gimbal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to say a better way of saying batteryless, but sans battery and electronics. It uses magnets to stabilize.
Yeah. Yeah, sure it does. And probably smoke and mirrors too.
And alien technology. So
that is magnets.
Yeah, there you go. It's it's similar to a 3-axis gimbal. It's got the handles on the side. It can hold a camera up to 3.5 pounds, 3.5 pounds for those who don't use decimal points. And it doesn't have any batteries. It doesn't need any electricity, so it doesn't wear out of you in the middle of a shoot. It's a magnetic rotor and it's counterweights and it has a 3-legged tripod built into the base so you can just put it down. And even better, it's only $3.99, but if you jump in the Indiegogo campaign, it's only $2.49. So
it's interesting. I like it in theory. My biggest problem with it, or I guess one of the biggest benefits of the other kind, is that you can use it as like a remote head on other things.
Yes. So yeah, you could add it to a jib, or you could add it to a
slider,
or you can some of them you can add onto a drone
on a car
and do it on a drone. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
missing out on that.
Missing out on that, but for $3.99.
Yeah, but my problem is like for $3.99 you could get a gimbal.
That's true.
Maybe like one of the Chinese like single-handed gimbals or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting idea. I like the idea. Like the idea of not having to change batteries ever is great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd be curious to see side by side in different scenarios, like how it performs.
Yeah, I think one drawback that I have is that because it is magnets, the balancing, the calibration when you put a camera on it takes a little bit because you have to like calibrate it based on weight and getting everything even and all that, rather than like a gimbal that will auto like find the center and do it everything. But I just really like the idea of no batteries.
That's nice.
It's I'll take it.
That's nice, but I mean, you could also get like a glide cam or something.
True.
One of the biggest drawbacks is that it can't be around my floppy disks.
Or my giant hard drives and my VHS tapes, or it will
ruined.
Erase them. But yeah, so I mean, it's something to consider, especially if you are on like a remote shoot where you don't have access to power or batteries.
Yeah,
definitely something to consider, though. I'd be interested in giving it a chance and checking it out. It's from Steady Cross.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, Filmocracy.
Yes. We were having a discussion about this earlier.
It is a Kickstarter right now.
Okay.
They're attempting to create a streaming platform that is gamified. AKA, you sort of like watch movies, rate them on a much more like finite level in terms of like cinematography, performances, directing, like all that kind of stuff.
Social interaction.
And you compete with your friends.
Yeah.
You earn virtual currency, which they use popcorn as their virtual currency, and you unlock accomplishments. And basically the way it works, I think, is they use the virtual currency. They pay out people for their participation in virtual currency that then they can use to like purchase
actual popcorn,
actual
in a theater?
movies,
well,
like the movies, or like
okay.
pay for their subscription,
gotcha,
and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because the way I saw it break down is 50% of the revenue goes to the filmmakers.
That's not bad.
And 40% goes to the platform, and then the 10% goes to the consumers who actually participate in the gamification.
That's not
elements.
bad. That's not bad.
I'm not exactly sure how it works or how it'll work. I mean, I think they're trying to, encourage people. It's like encouraging them to like watch more stuff and
and
become more involved and interactive
and make
like,
it I mean,
share
everything
things and like.
Everything's based around everyone wants a social network these days, like fearlessfilmmaker.com. But I mean, it's all about trying to keep people in your platform as long as possible because you can sell data. So then they're probably going to sell data on like what people like to watch and sell that to like some kind of sales agent or marketing or people like that. But they just want to keep people inside their own products. Yeah, that's
It's interesting. And also, another interesting aspect of it is they pay out the filmmakers based on their watch time. Like how many minutes of their projects have been consumed compared to other people's
Interesting.
Projects. So, I don't know, something to look out for. They're on Kickstarter right now. I think they just launched. and they're about halfway to their goal.
Okay. All right. Not bad. Well, my final one is the Roadcast podcasting competition. Right up our alley. Except that it is a competition for 1 to 2 minute podcasts. And guess what? That's not us.
Yeah, that's going to be a toughie.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Well, we have some other podcast ideas, but
we should do a 2-minute podcast about us deciding what to podcast about for 2 minutes.
I wonder if we can do multiple entries.
And then it would cut off halfway through because it would take us more than 2 minutes to decide.
Absolutely. If we can do multiple entries, actually, maybe you can do one and I can do one. We should do one like that. That is just fantastic. Yeah, that may just be laughed out of the room, though. But, so you enter 1 to 2 minute podcast. It could be about anything you want, anything your little heart desires. You upload it to Rode, and what you win. What do you win? The ultimate major winner prize pack is a Rodecaster Pro podcast production studio, which me likey.
Yep.
4 pod mics, studio boom arms, XLR cables, interview kits, headphones, sound effects library, Adobe Creative Cloud membership for a year, all this stuff. And then even the runner-up prize packs is a pro podcast production studio, 2 mics, studio boom arm, XLR cables. I mean, if you're starting a podcast or you already have a podcast that is somewhat popular, except for one asshole who gave you a 1-star review on iTunes, it could be helpful. People Choice prize pack is the same stuff. Rodecaster Pro Podcast Production Studio, pod mic, 2 pod mics, 2 boom arms, 2 XLR cables, all that stuff. So it's pretty good. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool.
It doesn't cost anything to enter, and you should do it. We're going to do it. We're going to probably enter a couple. We have some ideas, and we'll see. And Alex just gave an idea that he gave away
for free.
So if you guys win on that, we'll just take the Rodecaster. Please. All right, that's good for me. How about you?
Yep, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for joining us. You can get the show notes for this episode by visiting nobudgetfilmmaking.com/episode 41.
And don't forget to hop on over to iTunes like Rachel Drummond did and subscribe to our podcast and give us a 5-star review like she did. Thank you so much again, Rachel.
And if you have any filmmaking questions, ask away in the comment section. We'll try to answer them.
And also, don't forget to head over to fearlessfilmmakers.com to join our growing community of filmmakers where you can talk to us, talk to other filmmakers, hit us up with messages, tell us how much you hate our voice, and you're never going to listen until the next podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll see you over there.
Cool.
Later, guys.
Peace.